ladies. Afternoon. Top of the day.
All right, we'll get the opening statement from Coach, and then we'll open up for questions.
Again, difficult challenge last week and didn't make enough plays defensively. No stops, too many missed assignments, some things got to clean up. Offense played hard, played well, just the ability to make some competitive plays against good players. Guys battled hard, played as hard as they could. I think we could build on that. We came out of the game reasonably healthy. Got a lot of work to do. Got another big challenge this week with another very talented, extremely good team coming in this week. So another big challenge.
Questions? And you've got mics on each side, so thank you. Kate?
Is Braylon good to go, or is,
He's doing some stuff. Again, it's just a matter. He's got to get back where he can practice. And he needs to practice, to improve. He practiced last week, but just very lightly with the amount of weight he could put on it. Did more Sunday, although we did not do a lot Sunday coming back with late travel. So it'll be an interesting day. He's walking okay, but didn't really, he's a guy that's got to be able to run and move around and make some plays with his feet. So we'll see how it goes. Cardell hit his hand on the helmet. It was just a bruise. He looked okay Sunday. I think initially just kind of swole up. He had a hard time gripping the ball. We'll see as we go. Like I told him today, we don't need him to throw so much today it regresses in any way. And then Roman came in, did a solid job. So, but I would expect hopefully Cardell progresses well. Braylon day to day, but even day to day, he's missed enough time. He's going to need probably a week or two getting back just to practice in the flow and the feel of the game. And you never know till a guy gets back. But typically, so to me, we're not rushing it. There's no need to rush it. I don't think it's a major injury. But I do think we need to make sure he is full go because for like most players, but especially for him, he needs to be able to move around to be an effective player and protect himself.
So you don't necessarily right now know who's going to start at quarterback Saturday?
No, I mean because you need to see. Roman came in and played well. Cardell came in first game, played well. Kirk Francis, it's been we'll have a guy out there. I don't anticipate. Braylon being long. I don't anticipate Cardell being excessively long, but until you practice, that's the worst thing about today. You're speculating and you just not trying to be vague or coy. You just don't know.
And last, how much of a challenge is that? Obviously, the competition's really stiff here in September, but also new season, and you've had to play 3 quarterbacks already. How difficult is that to get the offense going? With the quarterback situation being what it's been.
Yeah, I mean the 2 backups have came in and statistically had better games than the guys that started. So I mean, we have practiced well. I thought we've done a good job of implementing what we want to do. So we did not scale it back. Last week, our scale back was trying to just make sure we could block those guys and stay on schedule, not take too many risky plays. We weren't playing to take the air of the ball or keep it close, but we couldn't get in the drop back contests against those guys early in the game with the receiver matchups and the blocking matchups. So we did take the first drive down, had a 3rd down play we didn't make where we had the ball in our hands, kicked a field goal. Second drive gets to midfield, we go for it on 4th down. Third drive, we throw a pick in the end zone. If you get some points there and you're sitting at a 14-10 or a 22-14 or 10 half, you're feeling a little bit better than 22-3. So, we move the ball well, and I don't think quarterback play has hindered us in any game as the starter's been out. It's been our ability to play as a team, and we need to score more points in games like that. We didn't. You're not going to win games scoring 10 points.
I know that you guys want to prepare for every game the same, no matter who the opponent is, but being able to be at home against an in-state opponent with OU's pedigree, do you notice a different vibe with the players or the team? Are they more excited for this one than some of them? Well,
you would think, but again, light work Sunday. After a long trip, we didn't get back here till pushing 2:33, and then yesterday's an off day. There's a lot of guys are in the building watching tape, and you're interacting them in a casual. We did have today because of our class conflicts. We did have a morning meeting because we can't get all our work done in the afternoon with our 1 o'clock in evening class time. So we've seen the guys in the meeting set up until you get on the field. You would think that's naturally going to be the case. They know it's a great team. They know how good they are this year, and historically they always are. And there'll be a lot of guys that know guys. We have a lot of in-state guys. They do, so there's always fun with that. We talk about only 6 home games. We're down to 5. It is a sellout crowd, so I'm sure there's going to be energy. But at the same time, I talked with our staff a couple weeks ago. It's about preparing and giving our guys the best chance to win this game. And it's also about developing long-term as we're starting the program and where you're trying to get to. So make sure we're doing everything we can to, get the stops, kick it well, and score points. And by the way, make sure you're also getting the culture created as you're still building.
And for you personally, playing a team where you spent nearly a decade at, does it make it feel any different?
No, I mean, I got a lot of great friends there, not just on staff in the town. I got, had several of our closest non-coaching friends that we've met in our careers have been just neighbors that we had down there. We were at an age where we had young kids and neighborhood with young kids, so we got tight with a lot of people in the community. Coach Stoops was awesome to work for. Our players were phenomenal. Had a great staff that we were working with. Because of the time and the success we had, it gave me opportunities to be sitting here. And the opportunity to want to be here has to do with almost, like you say, basically a great decade in Norman. Same time, this is this week, and our team, and we're developing our team. I know Brent's laser focused on his team in year 2 and the strides they're bidding. So that's a neat little backdrop story. But to me, I'm more concerned with our team and putting together a great plan this week and practicing well and then going out playing well and keep building what we're trying to get going here.
And you mentioned Brent there. Do you have any good stories of Brent back from those days?
No, I mean, what you see is what you get, and very genuine. Again, prayers to he and his family, and with Julie, and our sons are basically the same age. My oldest son, my youngest son, the same age as his 2 guys, and we'd go to a Little League game, and it would be the Stoops 2, and the Wilson 2, and the Sumlins 2, and the Venables 2, and the best deal is like we were just dads. We didn't want to coach. We just wanted to sit there and watch our guys. So that was kind of neat. Where all the guys were playing baseball on the same teams, basketball on the same teams. So I just remember the family practice was competitive. Practice was hard, but practice was never personal. You were trying everything you could. And I think as a coach, I grew a lot there as a coach because you started learning that you're going against good players and good coaches. But also, too, if your players aren't playing well, when you got good players, sometimes you're looking at how you're coaching. Are you covering things properly? Are you getting things taught properly and how to implement and install things? So, phenomenal time. He's a great coach, a passionate coach. He is right now sitting in a room with some players. He's got a crease board with 1,000 lines over it. You can't see everything, but he is blowing up and stopping plays, and that's what he does, and he does it as well as anybody.
Texas was great the other night, in large part because of its aggression and play calls, bold play calling, right? And, of course, they got a really good team, too. But in a game like this Saturday for you, do you have to double down on trying to win and being aggressive and rolling out some stuff maybe that they haven't seen yet?
Yeah, and at the same time, too, if it backfires, you put your defense in harm's way. And there's a little balance right there. So I think you get a feel, early in the game. I think, we in general, you have to be as aggressive as you can, but it also comes back to what your line can block, and it comes back to what your quarterback can handle. And so we talk about, I think our quarterbacks have done a nice job handling things as we've had to play some backups in each game. I don't think we quit doing things because the quarterback was out. But again, if you can't block it, so again, the matchups, what are the matchups? Can you block? What are the pressures? Can you block? So you can be aggressive, but you have to be very calculated in doing so. I used to use a line. I think I actually used it first when I was at Oklahoma. Might be wrong, but I think it was like Keegan Bradley, the golfer, said that you need to care less, but you can't be careless. And so sometimes don't worry about what the results are going to be, but you can't be careless and put your team in harm's way where there's turnovers and negative plays where the game can get out of hand. So you got to be aggressive, but you got to be calculated smart, because you can expose yourself to some plays that can get going sideways. And when you're playing a talented team that plays very fast on offense, it can very much snowball against you too. But you can't play in a phone booth and you can't play in a shell and expect to have a chance to win this game.
Given your familiarity with Coach Venables, both coaching with him at Oklahoma and then against him in some big-time games, how does that go into how you game plan for this matchup?
I mean, you know some things, but at the same time, you're watching the players and, the evolution, and you see subtleties defensively that are slightly different than a year ago, because, you're looking at last year's games, but then you've got 2 games, so you see where now, because, he's extremely talented and smart, particularly from the defensive view about, what he wants to do, but also what the players can do. And to me, what it looks like in the first 2 games, he's putting his players in much better position to play aggressive, outstanding defense. And and it's not radically different, but it is different than maybe some things last year. And most importantly, you can see his team playing faster and playing with more confidence and playing, with very few errors and tackling well and being aggressive. So, that's his style. And at the same time, he kind of knows me and our style a little bit. And in some ways, I think we're both smart enough to know sometimes you got to be a little bit different. So, like the old saying, everybody's got a game plan until you start playing, and you got to adjust. He's not going to get away from what he does, but he'll have his way he attacks us, because he attacks every team differently, doing everything he can to win the game. And I think he knows we're going to try our best to do the same thing on our part. We'll do what we do, but we'll have our adjustments that we think give our kids the best chance to make plays that we need to make.
As a follow-up to that, are there telltale signs of a Brent Venables defense that you sort of see in the way this OU team defends?
Meaning?
Like characteristics of Brent's defenses are always going to kind of have these tendencies or have these traits. Like, do you see that with this OU team?
Yeah, to me, he's just always been, and I think it's from his time from playing with Coach Snyder, and I think you'd say going back with his time with Coach Stoops and with Coach Levitt, the preparation side of things, I think he was always a very prepared, detailed guy. There'd be many days when you say a Brent Venables story, there'd be a lot of days we'd go out to stretch, and we'd be ready to stretch, and every group would be there except one group, and those linebackers were still meeting, going through, how we're going to stop this play and what we're going to do on this and what we're checking here. And after a while, Bob would say, start stretching, because we're waiting on those guys, and because his guys were going to be prepared. So his teams are always well prepared. They're always are keen on your tendencies. They're always very keen on what they want to do, and they're very aggressive. And he's very aggressive as a play caller, and his confidence plays within his players, and they play that way.
When you guys are going against each other in practice, your offense against his defense, I'm sure it can get competitive. What is that like, and also what's it like knowing that you're kind of working in conjunction to try to make each other better?
To me, it was when I first got to OU, we had these facilities downstairs, and we had like a little divider that just went across, and I sat on one side with the lineman, and Mike Stoops was sat on the other side. So it was based on who started yelling the loudest. The other coach then was the good cop. So if Mike was really getting after it, I was the good guy that day, because we both couldn't be yelling. You couldn't get anything done. So we went back and forth. But there was never a personal thing. And I took it as, every day we were going to play. At that time, we were going against Tommy Harris and Dan Cody and Dusty Dvorak and Jonathan Jackson, Teddy Lehman. Rocky had just left Cal. There was legitimate pro players that you're going against. And they were throwing the ball a lot, and it had gotten a little, passive in our attack, and I was a little bit more of a come off the ball, be physical guy. And I just used practice as I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to use how strong they were to make us stronger. The weight room, you don't get strong until you put a lot of weight on the bar and you fail in lifting. And because you fail, you strain, and because you strain, you get stronger. And I just used the practice format as a chance to get stronger. Typically, if we had a bad practice at Oklahoma, and it was a spring or a preseason practice, that actually meant the offense did pretty well. And if we had a great practice, I was a little ticked off because I got my butt beat. So when Coach called him up and Coach Stoops talked about the flow of practice, you knew which side kind of won the day. And typically I got used to where it was a good practice day, which meant we got our butt kicked a fair amount. So it was fun, though. It was great days, great players.
You want me to ask you about Brody's hands, Kevin? Brody Eldridge.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players.
I feel like I should ask
I
him.
never watched him practice because I knew he was going to block his guy every play.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And not have bad hands, but just a little almost like a lineman. wasn't quite big, but moved. So his ability to get open wasn't as good as, and the fans still rip me for Gresham, who had caught 2 touchdowns and was the leading receiver in the Orange Bowl, but because I didn't throw it to him every play, we lost that game, so it's my fault.
Is there anything you want to air that you had never got to say back then? 15?
No, I am very appreciative of the kids I coached.
Sure.
It was a great story. Is one year I think Jermaine was first team All-League and Brody was like second team, and then Matt Clapp was an honorable mention. And I came in into practice and said, man, there must be a lot of bad players in this league if all 3 of you guys make all conference. And then a week later, I won the Broyles Award for the top coach. And I went out to stretch, and Brody said, hey, Coach, Jermaine's got something. And I said, what? And he said, Jermaine said, a lot of bad coaches out there, ain't they? So I just appreciated that my players were listening.
Yeah.
And so, but again, those are great players. But again, enough about my time at OU, which was awesome. The real deal right now is the focus again on our guys and our team. I know Brent's really very much in tune with what he needs to do to get his team playing so well, and they're off to a great start. And our guys are battling hard. We got some development to do. We got some corrections to do. We got a great challenge, but I'm really a little bit more tuned into, those are great years that I love and would do them again, but I'm really excited about this team and this opportunity, which is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And the opportunity of playing these guys Saturday in front of a sellout, which is going to be great. Be great for our school. It's going to be a great branding day for our school as we're trying to increase enrollment and the vision of TU. I think it's an awesome day for Tulsa, and I think a lot of credit needs to go to, I know for a fact that Joe Castiglione likes playing a game once in a while in Tulsa because of their fan base. I know Oklahoma State comes here, so I appreciate our in-state rivals and Rick Dixon and our administration for getting these games here once in a while. I think it's awesome for the city, it's awesome for our team, and I think it's great for our school.
Sure. Well, let me transition into what you got here now. I know this firsthand. Part of the secret, most of the secret of your success 15 years ago was how demanding you were on your players and how they responded to that. You never had to worry about how they would respond. This is a different program, in a different time. Are you able to coach with the same tenor now that you did at OU with these kids at this place?
Yeah, I don't think the expectations change, but I think the delivery and the way you communicate what you expect and teaching what you want versus just saying, here's what I won't do it. It's no, I think we're in a generation where these kids, they want to do well. I think a lot of them yearn for discipline and structure, but you need to explain why we're doing things, why this is acceptable and why this is not. And I thought, being an older guy and having been through it, I thought our strength staff and medical staff did a great job in January, February, and even early in spring of trying to, hey, this is what we want. This is how we do it, whether it be we walked through how to stretch. We went in the locker room and talked about and showed clean lockers and not clean lockers and what we wanted. And so I think the demands in what most people want and need haven't changed a great deal. I think, you're looking at success that Colorado's having, and we can talk about Coach Sanders and the transition of players, but the people I've talked to watching practice say they're unbelievably demanding and how hard they practice and how structured their practice is. So I think really good teams, and I know for a fact, Coach Venables has a structured, hard, get-after-it practice. I know for a fact at Ohio State, they'll have a very structured, disciplined day-to-day, and we're going to do the same thing here. I think what's different is you have to communicate with your guys why you're doing things and help them understand to buy that. I think we've done a decent job of that, and I think that's why our kids we didn't have a lot of guys leaving the portal.
Yeah.
I think that's why our guys are battling hard for us right now. And I got a lot of appreciation and respect for the way our kids have embraced us. And I appreciate our staff for trying to educate and get everybody on the same page.
Sure.
It's still a work in progress.
Yeah, one more from me. You've been a head coach once before, that was at IU. Anything about that experience inform you as to how to do things either different or better here at TU?
And a great question, because I think, first of all, the delivery with players, like you're talking about, the communication piece. And then I'd say what I found from there is that, a lot of times, change is hard. People don't like change. I know, we're talking, David, in your world, there's a lot of change going on in your industry, because it's tough. And times are tough, and we're all dealing with different things. So, change is tough, but change isn't getting better. Change is just change. Getting better is getting better. And sometimes when you come in, you want to do things differently, and in doing things differently, that affects people. And sometimes people need to get out of their comfort zone. What I found from Indiana to here is that as you're wanting people to do things differently, again, your ability to communicate with them, the expectation, the job description, what you think it should look like and why. Because at the end of the day, most people working at the majority of all universities are great people, quality people that love the school. So if you come in and say, let's do something differently, and that person's not used to that, they're like, no, wait a minute, now I'm used to, folding the clothes this way in the laundry, or I'm used to taping ankles this way in the medical room, or I'm used to filming practice this way, or I'm used to academics being this way. And you say, and my thing is I just want to find the best way that works here. I didn't want to come and say, hey, here's how we did it at Oklahoma. Here's how Coach Stoops did it, or here's how we did it at Ohio State. No, here's how I think we should do it, but does this work here? And so, to me, what I think I've found differently is that you got to get everybody working together, and it takes time to get everyone on the same page, and don't get mad when you're not, because if you're getting mad at someone, that's actually probably a pretty good person that loves his school. So let's don't alienate people that are good people that love your school. Let's educate them on how we can all work together to do what's best for the players, and then help the program get strong. The one thing I did differently that I got from Ohio State, we have a once-a-week meeting. We'll do it Thursday. Matter of fact, DT hasn't been there to Ohio State. DT was sitting there to Ohio State. Everyone that touched the program sits in that meeting. Equipment, medical, nutrition, academic, psychological support. Anyone touching the players sat in that meeting, and we talk about every kid real quick. How's he doing in school? How's his body weight? How's he feeling? If anybody's got a problem, everybody knows about it. So we can help that kid. If everybody's doing great, everybody knows about it. If somebody's really struggling, you know about it. And I think that's been one of the things, because I think that's helped our immediate staff understand what our players are going through so we can all help them. And we use here at Tulsa the eye of the hurricane. The eye is calm, and the kid's in the middle. Sometimes we, the support staff, are the hurricane creating all the controversy. Hey, you got to get to the study hall. Hey, you got to go over and get treatment. Hey, you better get to dinner and make your body weight, and we're pulling them all over the place. How do we keep him calm in the middle with all these things going around him? And that's one of the things we brought here. I think that's helped us get off to a good start of communication with building our program.
Wanted to get your thoughts on defensive line play. You pull up Pro Football Focus, and I think you got 3 players that are graded out in the top 35 in the country according to their grades. What are your thoughts on how they've played so far?
They're playing hard. You know, Coach Burton's a tremendous coach. Got some older guys back. I think we need to play more guys. I actually after the game I said, did you play Tyler Rich and RJ? He said no. And I said, play them young guys too now, because the more the young guys play, the harder the older guys will play. But Ben's came in and played hard. I think that's picked up Owen. Von Troy's coming on at defense, and Nielsen outside. Inside guys, we got a little bit more depth with Zaid Hampton there backing up with Joanna. But those guys are playing hard, and they need to. And we got our linebackers to pick up. We got to clean up some communication, some alignment. But again, we gave up too many plays the other day on defense. We didn't score enough on offense, but our kids kept battling and fighting, and I think that's why those guys are grading decently, is they're playing hard. And at the end of the day, we'll keep coaching them to get better, but that's the buy-in that I'm seeing that makes me feel good about what our kids are trying to do.
I thought about you last night when Aaron Rodgers goes down, right, because of your history with Bradford in 09, and then to open a season after a whole year of prep, and then you're 2 for 2 this season on quarterback disruption, right, in game. How shocking is it on your sideline, whether you're at OU or Tulsa or wherever, when a quarterback goes down in the game?
I think it's different based on sometimes the injury in the player, the magnitude of it. Sam coming off Heisman's a big deal. Game 1, our guy got twisted on a tackle and got an ankle sprain. The other day, a guy fell on the ground and jammed his thumb. So I don't think it was as alarming on our side. I think everything's a little bit different. You do need more than one player at each position. It is unfortunate when those things happen. But again, I can tell you everything we do is we try to do the best we can to keep our quarterbacks out of harm's way, protect the ball, protect the quarterback is 2 of our mantras, and we're going to do everything we can to do that. But unfortunately, like I say, we've had 2 minor early injuries. You feel for Aaron being an older guy, but I'm sure with medical stuff, I don't know the extent of what he's got right now, but we'll see going forward. But anyway, it's a tough deal when it happens.
It's an Achilles tear, just for the record, at 39. So.
Talk about offensive line. Obviously, you're talking about the importance of protection and everything, but just talk about how they've done and how they're developing.
We're trying to get them to. They're gaining on it. So that's one of my little pet peeves where my eyes go a lot. We're trying to get them to, practice, consistently and harder. And I was talking to Dave today quickly about one of our players, Jace Oliver. I think he's one of our most consistent guys. We might have some more talented guys, and he shows up every day. He practices really good. He plays pretty solid. I think he's been a good player for us. And I like that because I know what I'm getting. I'm trying to get the offensive line to be that consistent piece that comes to work every day. I think early when it's hot and you're big guys and it's more than 105 degrees out there, it's hard to practice the way I'd like to see them practice. I think we've weathered that pretty good. I thought we did a great job of calculating how and when to practice so we could try to get them tougher without losing our team with the heat and the excessiveness that we had those few weeks. But we're just trying to get that group there. Coach Stanchek and Coach Fryer, both like myself, line-oriented guys. I think the tight ends are complementing that group very, very well. I think Ethan and Luke McGregor are playing solid. Luke is a freshman, is off to a nice start as a young player. But that line is played okay, pretty good. Can be better. I don't think you have a good line to the end of the year and you look back and see did they show up and were you consistent running the ball and did they take care of the quarterback? Did you control the games? If you control the games, that means your D-line and O-line's doing pretty good. And so we'll see as we can go. We're having some good battles in practice. Today we'll do a fair amount of good-on-good work and ones-on-twos work. And I think that iron versus sharpening iron, ones versus ones versus twos, our good players are getting better, getting a little bit better and a little bit stronger.
And also, talk about receivers, the receiver play. I mean, I know you got a lot of young receivers. Braylon, kind of big pass over the middle, early in the game. Talk a bit about how they're developing.
Okay. I think some of our older guys kind of need to compliment, pick up, or if not, some of our younger guys we need to escalate, like Grayson Tempest. And, we got Cam Crooks is actually playing a little bit of a hybrid running back for us. Matt O'Gunran, Jared Hughes are some of the young guys. Devin Williams has picked it up nicely. He's still young. Had one critical error the other day. Marquise is fast, but got to get bigger, stronger. Same with Braylon. Our best guys are kind of in that first year and second year class. We need some of the old guys to pick it up. I think they need to practice better. But that group needs to keep coming. Again, it'll be difficult Saturday with OU with the matchups. We had a hard time against the matchups last Saturday, getting some separation and getting open.
So obviously in your first year trying to build the program, trying to build momentum, when you have a non-conference schedule, where you're playing a top 10 team on the road and the next week you're hosting OU, does that hinder your ability at all to build momentum, or do you like playing tough opponents like that?
It's nice to play them. And like, last week I told the guys, again, we just want to play one play at a time as hard as we could. It's not about the game. It's just play the first play as hard as you can. Do your first job. And then we'll, like the Bible verse, today has enough problems. Let's just play the first play. That play has enough problem. Then don't worry about the game. Let's segment it down into small segments. At the same time, too, though, you want to play in those arenas and play against those guys and test yourself as an athlete. So let's don't make the game so big we don't enjoy the opportunity. When you live in this state and you like golf like I do, when you have the opportunity to go to Southern Hills, don't pucker up about it. Have fun, because you're not going to do that. I don't do that every day. Or when you go to Oak Tree and you got to play 1, 2, and 3 and you start 8 over, I don't get to do that a lot. So when I do, have some fun doing it. Like it is awesome. But don't make it bigger than it is. It's still, I made a comment last night at the radio show. They always put it on our media deal, like our number of students and their number of students. Well, they'll have 11 students playing football on the field, and we'll have 11 students playing football on the field. And it'll be our 11 against their 11. And so, to me, like let's enjoy that. Like, how many times do you get a chance to play this game? How many times are we going to play in this arena that's going to be this exciting this weekend? Let's have fun with that. Now, let's prepare the right way. We're not going to be class clowns. We're not going to go out there and jump around and listen to some hype video and be bounce around and get our eye black right and our wristbands and tights all dressed up and all that deal. But to play in this game, and you only get to play, if you play a lot, 6, 7, 8 minutes in a game. And some of our guys are playing 30, 40, 50 a minute, 40, 50 seconds a minute in this game. Why don't you enjoy and play as hard as you can in this game? So let's have a great week of practice. Let's enjoy the competition. And like I told the coaches, let's game plan, enjoy the competition, but let's make sure you keep building on the field, development, culture, what you want as you build your program. And that's what we're going to do this week. All right, guys, appreciate you. Ladies, have a good one.